Look at this dude.
Hey guys and gals, my name is Quinlan if you did not know that, and today I will be reviewing Joji's second studio album, Nectar. This follows his debut studio album Ballads 1, which released all the way back in 2018, and Ballads 1 followed his debut EP, In Tongues, which released back in 2017. Joji released In Tongues when he was transitioning from a YouTuber slash comedian into a full-on blown out artist that he is today. I enjoyed In Tongues and I was familiar with a little bit of his work because I listened to quite a bit of his SoundCloud stuff and quite a bit of his recent music. The sound at least came through on a couple of tracks under his alias Pink Guy, and I can say that I enjoyed In Tongues. I thought there were quite a few highlights, and Will He as well as Demons are two of my favorite tracks of all time, but I felt like he had a lot of room for improvement, and since then he definitely has improved quite a lot. I wasn't very familiar with the genre lo-fi bedroom pop as well as R&B and soul, but I'm very glad that I have entered this genre through Joji because it is a very nice genre. From In Tongues to Ballads 1, there was a much bigger steep up in general production as well as lyricism, and I enjoyed Ballads 1, definitely a better project than In Tongues, but still quite a lot of room for improvement for Joji. His lyricism could be better, and the general cohesiveness. From Ballads 1 to Nectar, he has released quite a few host of singles, and I enjoyed every single one of them, with some of them being his best work up to date, such as Run. The general production over the course of these singles is very good and very much better than what he had been releasing before. Nectar is 18 songs and consists of 53 minutes worth of content. There are quite a few tracks that offer up as interludes, but in general there is a lot of content to be had here, so let's get into the review. The first track, You, is a perfect album opener. It offers the general aesthetic and vibe and atmosphere of the general album very well. Be gone! It basically talks about how Joji has been in a whole bunch of past relationships and he feels as if he is not good enough, and he wants to find someone who will love him forever because he's wondering why all of these girls have been breaking up with him and why the love never lasts. And when Joji hits those really high notes, I really enjoy the track. I like the piano intro as well as the piano violin combination during the best parts of the track in the middle, and it sets up the album very nicely. It's not really a teaser in terms of the instrumental and the general vibe, but lyrically and sonically it is a little bit of a teaser because there isn't that much of it on the track. It doesn't fill up the majority of the track that much, so yeah. Then we get into the second track, MODUS, and this is a genuine highlight. Nice. I enjoyed it a lot. It's talking about how Joji feels boxed and how he's feeling the pressures of the industry as well as his general fan base, and he feels like he can't just be himself. He can't just offer up what he thinks artistically. He has to fit into a certain genre and output certain kinds of music. And I really like when he is singing to a rhythm here at the beginning and you're sort of going in and out with the production. It's very nice. And then towards the middle there's a combination of singing as well as this rhythm, and then towards the end you've just got more singing. Two tracks that set up the album very nicely and the general aesthetic as well as atmosphere. Then we get into the third track, TikTok. And even if this is supposed to be an interlude, I didn't enjoy it. I think the chorus is very lazy and pretty trash, pretty booty cheeks. And I think that definitely could have been removed. I saw, I think on the Genius page, where it said that he had made the lyrics or produced this sort of track when he was 16. But after the chorus, and besides the chorus, I do like the instrumental quite a lot, and I enjoy when he sings towards the end of this track, and I think that it was just a little bit badly constructed. I think if he had those types of vocals throughout most of the track, he kept the instrumental and he just took away that horrid chorus at the beginning, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. Then we get into track 4, which is Daylight, featuring production from Diplo, and this sees Joji going into the grand pop production realm. And I don't generally like this genre of music, and I didn't like the single that much when it released before the album, but with repeated listens, I am enjoying this track a lot. It's got a nice Joji twist to it, so that it's not overly produced and overly glossed up and sweet, but his vocals are super golden. They are so good.
Laranja, acerola e mel. Uma doçura.
And when the violins come in on the most suspenseful parts of the track, I enjoy this track a lot. And it features Joji talking about the problems that he has encountered towards the end of a relationship and how he's struggling from day to day because of this relationship that seems to be coming to an end. The back end of Daylight transitions very nicely into the next track, with the piano coming in on Upgrade at the beginning. And Upgrade is a very nice interlude. It slows down the general pace of the album and gives you a break before a lot more tracks are to come, but also a couple of tracks that are very well produced and grandly produced, so it does give you a nice little break before you head into those content heavy tracks in the form of GimMe Love, Run, as well as Sanctuary. And it offers up Joji talking about how he wants his lover to give him one more chance before ending things with him, and it's quite sweet and it's quite nice, and it nods back to his early In Tongues days as well as his early SoundCloud days, and I quite like that a lot. Then we get into track number 6, GimMe Love, which features Joji talking about how he wants love from his partner and he feels very inadequate, and he's going through these emotions that are quite troubling to him. He doesn't understand why he's not getting love from his partner and why another relationship is possibly coming to an end. And I didn't really care for the chorus, and I think that it was a little bit lazy. I think it could have been a lot better. But what really makes this track is the second half of the track, where there's some really grand production and Joji hits these really high notes, and it's almost like listening to a rocket being launched into the air, such as in the music video. It suits the vibes very well. Then we get into track 7, which is Run, and this is one of Joji's best tracks to date. It's got some really grand production, and it offers Joji talking about how he's running away from these feelings that he is feeling, as well as his partner running away from the relationship that they just recently had and going into a new one, and all of the troubles that one may encounter when you see your previous loved one getting into a new relationship without you. Then we get into track number 8, Sanctuary, which is one of the first tracks that he released as a single before the actual album dropped, and I wasn't sure whether it was going to make it onto the album or not, but I'm glad that it did. It is a definite highlight. It features Joji in a very high melodic pitched voice, and it basically talks about how his potential loved one is a sanctuary for him. I enjoyed the vibes of this track. I was quite turned off by his vocals at first because they are so different. Oh no! But I'm glad that he actually experimented with them and went into this sort of genre of music, because it is very nice. I enjoyed it quite a lot. It has quite a futuristic and outer space, outwardly worldly vibe to it, and is a definite highlight off of the track list. Then we get into track 9, which is High Hopes featuring Omar Apollo, and I enjoyed the instrumental of this quite a bit. I thought that the chorus by Joji was not very good. I didn't enjoy it at all, and I think that his vocals are okay, but I feel like he could have done a lot more, especially with such an experimental beat like this. And I enjoyed when Omar Apollo comes on at first. He's got these almost Playboy Cardi type vibes, Baby Keem type vibes with the little low-key rapping, but when he hits these really high-pitched vocals after his sort of intro little rap verse, I didn't enjoy it at all. I thought it sounded pretty bad, and I feel like in general the track is just very meh. Very meh. Could have been a lot better, and both artists could have just done a lot more. I feel like it was quite wasted because the instrumental was so different and was so nice. Then we get into track 10, which is NITROUS, and this features production from Clams Casino, and this is the second time I believe they have collabed. They collabed on the track Can't Get Over You, and I enjoyed that track quite a lot. And when I first heard this interlude, I thought it was okay. Then I saw some other people talk about it and they said, nah, it's not a good track. But I'm not gonna lie, I gave into it. It is catchy as hell. It is really, really cool when you're listening to it. It puts you in a certain mood. And I enjoyed it. Let's count! Then we get into track 11, which is Pretty Boy, and I know that most people were looking forward to this track being released because Joji released a sort of snippet of it on his channel with a little music video before the actual album dropped, telling us that it wasn't the actual song, but most of his fans were very, very excited for when the full song would drop. And it's got a feature from Lil Yachty, and I enjoyed it. I enjoy this track a lot. It is definitely a banger in terms, well, in comparison to the rest of the tracks at least. I think that if you compare it to a person who just makes bangers, like, I don't know, Pop Smoke or something, it might be one of their more low-key cuts, but for Joji it is definitely a more upbeat and fun track, a very, very fun track. I enjoyed the general chorus of it. I'm a pretty boy living on the west side, so good. And I enjoyed Lil Yachty's feature. Before Lil Yachty comes in, there are these really wacky vocals in the background, sort of Pink Guy vibes. I know that Joji doesn't like it when people, say that's Pink Guy in the background. It's just Joji, it's just part of who he is. So yeah, I did enjoy those fun little vocals before Lil Yachty came on, and finally, thank God, thank the Lord Jesus above, Lil Yachty finds his 2016 sound. He finds it again here. His debut project, Lil Boat. This is him. We finally found him. And I was just telling my friend the other day, imagine this playing in the club. This atmosphere is something else. In terms of lyrical substance, it's got a little bit, basically talking about how they are being their external selves, their selves that they portray to the public, how they're hiding a lot of problems that they are feeling as normal human beings, but they have to portray these external, outwardly characters that they are. After track 11, we get into track 12, which is Normal People featuring Ray Brown, and this sees a switch up in the general message of the album. We go from Joji having been in relationships, looking for a new relationship, to being in another relationship and getting towards the end of the relationship and having really, really bad feelings about it, and then getting broken up with, and now he's in the situation where there is an aftermath after the relationship. I enjoyed the track a lot. I really, really like the bass and the general sound of this track. It slows things down after a banger, which was Pretty Boy, and it really puts you back into the sort of melancholic, comatose almost general sound of the album. And the feature from Ray Brown is very, very nice. It definitely slows things down a lot. After Normal People, we get into Afterthought featuring Beanie, and this is the collab I thought would never happen, but actually happened, and unfortunately it wasn't as good as it could have been. I thought that the production was pretty bland. I thought the lyricism was very, very good, but I feel like both artists could have done a lot more on a track where you've got a prolific artist such as Beanie, a person who I love just as much as Joji, and they really didn't do too much together. It was a nice little vibe, and it definitely suited Beanie more than it suited Joji, but I feel like it could have been a lot grander and a lot better because the lyricism is there, the emotion is all there, but the production is super bland, and the singing isn't as out there and bold as it could have been, at least from Joji's side, because Beanie features very well under that more low-key style. But what I did like about the track is that it continues the aftermath after a dysfunctional relationship, you know, wondering what they could have done differently to have kept the relationship or what they did wrong in the relationship. After track 13 we get into track 14, Mr. Hollywood, which features production from Kenneth the Cop, and I enjoyed this track quite a lot. The general message of being a superstar that he is now, but keeping his head right, keeping his head screwed on tight, knowing what he wants in life and keeping the things that he enjoys most close to him is a very nice message to portray. And I enjoyed the production on this track. I thought that Joji's vocals were very good, especially in comparison to Afterthought, for example. Then you get into track 15, which is 777, and this sees Joji entering the sort of synth pop lane, I believe. And this track is super catchy. At first I thought it was quite forgettable, but after repeated listens it's definitely in my head. And I enjoyed the track for the most part, but I feel like it's a little bit long for what it's trying to do, because Joji is being a little bit more experimental here. I think that it could have been at least 30 seconds shorter and I maybe would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But I didn't really remember the general message of the track. I just know that it's cool when it's on and it sort of suits the vibe, but at the same time adds a bit of variety to the track list. And so yeah, I don't mind it. I think that if he works on a track like this a little bit better in the future, it can serve much better on the album. Then we get into track 16, which is Reanimator featuring Yve Tumor. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I think I got parts of it right, but this track is definitely the worst track on the whole album in my opinion. I like the instrumental to a certain extent. I think that the intro is way too long. Joji pops up for a few seconds, then there's sort of a interlude bridge type sound with Yve Tumor, and it sounds like it's going to transition into a different song, but then it just ends. I think it's a wasted track. It definitely could have just not have been on the album. It didn't even need to serve as an interlude if that is what it was trying to do, because there's enough content on the album already. I feel like this could have maybe have been released as a single or on a different project, or just been scrapped altogether, because it's really a waste of a song in my opinion, and yeah, isn't very good. So then we get into the last two tracks, Like You Do as well as Your Man, and these are very good tracks, definite highlights on the track list, and really round off the album very nicely. On Like You Do, Joji is reflecting on a relationship that he just had and is thinking about how the person is the only person who could love him like she did, I'm presuming.
Gay.
And it's really sweet. It's got some very emotional and emotive lyricism as well as sounds, and I enjoyed the track a lot. I really did think that this track was one of the greatest highlights on the album, and it's 4 minutes. It is 4 minutes. It is a solid track.
Why are you gay?
From back to front. You listen to this track and you just love it from back to front.
You are gay.
It is a definite highlight. Then we get into track 18, which is the outro, Your Man, and this track is very good as well. It sees Joji entering a more upbeat lane. It is a pulsing ode to eyes closed, four on the floor escapism.
What the hell?
That is the best way to describe it. On Your Man, the general production is really upbeat and very well produced, and as someone described here, they said, through 3 lines of writing, Joji can give you 50 emotions, and that is exactly how I feel about this track. After a whole 50 minutes or so, you get this really nice outro that leaves you feeling good. It leaves you feeling good. It talks about how Joji is comforting his new crush who recently got broken up with, and how he can be her man. He can be her man. Okay, so in conclusion, I enjoyed this album. I thought that it was a little bit long and it definitely could have done with quite a bit of editing, but I wasn't expecting it to take the direction that it did because of the singles that were released before the time. GimMe Love, Run, as well as Sanctuary and Daylight were all very grandly produced tracks with some very nice lyricism, and quite a bit of experimentation from Joji, and I was expecting the rest of the album to be just as well produced and just as grandly produced, but unfortunately on the one hand it wasn't, unfortunately on the other hand it was. I feel like Nectar is a combination of In Tongues as well as Ballads 1 and a few elements of new experimentation that he is trying, all put into one album. I think that it is enjoyable for the most part, but it isn't the most cohesive because these singles that he has released before the time of the release were very different to the general sound of the rest of the album. So I feel like in order for Joji to get a higher score in the future, I think that he must get rid of a couple of tracks, edit a few tracks, and just make use of a few more features, or at least make use of the features in a better manner, and have it be a little bit more cohesive. So in conclusion, this album is definitely a 7 out of 10.
May his soul rest in peace. Amen.
Funerals. It's part of the human journey. None of us are spared.
And I think that with repeated listens, certain songs will feel better and better and other songs won't feel as good. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and listen to my music or follow my socials down in the description. It has been your boy Quinlan. Much love, peace out, and do the damn things, innit?
Already ate, that's the real definition of fake. That's the real definition of fake. Used to fuck with them niggas, found out they was snakes. Can't fuck with these niggas, they all in my way. I was sleep on these niggas, but now I'm awake. I'm searching, I'm looking for a better day. When you open your mouth, better watch what you say, cause I gotta quit temper, I don't hesitate. Life is too real, no, you cannot relate. Took me a minute to learn from mistakes, but now that I know these niggas fake. But now that I know these niggas fake.